have here, like, if you think we have started also the recording. Well, we are expecting also the director of our institute, Ludmila Kazhura, but at the moment I believe that she is at another meeting, so as soon as she's free, she will join us. So, and for now, well, let's first of all welcome our managing partner and at Sterling Development International in London, Niall Foster. Well, Niall, hello, we are very, very happy to see you.
A pleasure.
It's been a while, yes, it's been a while. So maybe there are some words you would like to say to our students, our participants.
Well, first of all, it's a pleasure to be here and to be a part of this conference. The conference does not end here. You know, people like me are available to help you anytime you reach out to me. I work with KNEU, the university, and have done so for 12 years. And I am a visiting lecturer, and I work to add value to the executive MBA students. So if you go onto LinkedIn, you'll see some details about the work that I do at KNEU. And I also work with other universities, but I work primarily with corporates. So I can give you some support in corporates and also maybe to push your agendas, your personal agendas forward. Thank you, Olena.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Well, cannot be said better. And yes, well, to our dear students, you are welcome. You are always welcome, as Niall is has presented himself. You're welcome to address him if you need anything. And well, it would be a great pleasure, I'm sure, for you to have this communication and experience and share this knowledge. Yes, I'm sure that Niall would be also happy to share his experience. Okay, so thank you very much, Niall, and we are moving on. And our next honorable guest is Michael Friedman. So Michael, you are welcome, well, founder at Reflect Ventures. You are welcome just to say a couple of words and maybe wishes to our students. Yes, as an inspiration go. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. I'm Mike Friedman. I'm one of the founding partners of Reflect Ventures. I'm sitting here in Shanghai. I visited Kiev many times in happier days, and I sincerely hope I'll be able to visit again. Ukraine's long-term victory in this war is going to depend on rebuilding and economic development. This is going to be a harder victory to win than the war. You're going to have to fight corruption, embezzlement, entrenched domestic rent seekers, protectionists, and foreign governments. We know which ones that want to rebuild their trade with and business in Russia, and local businessmen who can be enticed or bribed with deals from Russia's stooges. Ukraine's rebuilding will be $1 trillion piñata, and plenty of pigs will want to feed at that trough. But the opportunity is also tremendous. Poland's GDP per capita in 1990, as it emerged from Soviet domination, was just $1,700 US. In 2022, it was $18,000, more than 10 times higher. Poland is likely to overtake the UK by 2030. Few would have predicted this in 1990. Ukraine can achieve similar results if it follows a similar path. Ukraine has a tremendous wealth of natural and human resources. Leverage them.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. And information, yes, for our consideration, and it is always interesting to hear and you know, to know this information like straight away, the data, the fresh data, yes, the fresh ideas. So thank you very much for sharing this with us. Also, I would like to give some tributes to our honorable partners. Some of them today couldn't join us, but nevertheless, we are grateful, we are thankful to them because they provided us with some valuable prizes that our participants will receive today after this conference is over, and well, among them, first of all, we would like to say thanks to our everyday partner Pearson. Well, and our students know them, and well, this is a well-known worldwide company. Well, they have provided our students today with 3 prize-winning codes, and this codes is a code that will connect you to a free library where you can free online library where you can read and fulfill more exercises and more interesting tasks for let's say for expanding, for widening your knowledge. Well, we will talk about it later on as well. So also we would like to thank and well, also pay our tribute to our partners, Garetsky Oleg, well, who is the managing partner of the law firm Garetsky and Partners, and Garetsky and Partners, yes, as the whole. Also, general director of the judicial newspaper or Юридична Газета, Olena Osmolovska, and also Olena Andreykina Zvarich. She's a PR director of the law firm Garetsky and Partners. Well, once again, they have also provided their support and their prizes. Well, Vladimir Vladimirovich he was showing, yes, so we managed to get another 11 books. Yes, in real, let's say real books, not the online products, but real books. And our participants will get them as prizes as well today for their participation, for their brilliant job, and for the work that they did. Okay, so thank you once again. Thank you, everybody. Well, Vladimir Vladimirovich, I hope I have not missed anyone, well, in this speech. And at the moment, I would like to present also some of our colleagues, Irina Argatyuk, Елена Овчинникова, Valentina Burli, and I saw here Vladimir Machuski Jr., Svetlana Nedelchenko. So we all are colleagues, yes, and we all represent here in Foreign Languages Department at Law Institute. And well, some of the Tatiana Guler, I'm sorry, yes, I'm just looking at them, also is here. So yes, Valentina Titova is also present. So we all are here, we all are representing, and we were helping, we were supporting our dear students at this moment to present their, prepare, present, perform, yes, with their presentations, with their works, with their, these articles. And now we would like to move on and to listen to them in person. So I hope that this will be an interesting journey, couple of hours of journey, yes, into different topics. You are welcome to prepare your questions. You are welcome to ask, yes, to debate, to negotiate. But at the same time, dear students, I would like to remind you about this time frames that we have, and probably, well, let's stick to 5 to 7 minutes maximum of presentation time, okay, just to be in time, to keep everything in time. Okay, so I believe we can start. Any questions before we start? All clear, all good? And also, yes, I forgot, today we have this holiday of Vyshivanka. So yes, a bit of Ukrainian tradition. So congratulations also, everybody. So, okay, well, we will start the first, well, I think all of you has got the program, yes, the itinerary of today's conference. So we would like to start with our first presenter, and it will be Kate Chaban, Katerina Chaban, and she will be presenting her presentation as well as her speech, and the topic of it is the United Nations Peacekeepers as part of post-war sustainable development in Ukraine, pros and cons. So Katya, I believe you are here. Yes, I can see you. You are welcome. And yes, the presentation is on the screen, so I'm giving the floor to Katya. Thank you.
Good afternoon. The topic of my work is United Nations peacekeepers as a part of post-war sustainable development in Ukraine, pros and cons. The topic of United Nations peacekeepers participation in sustainable post-war development in Ukraine is important as it raises significant questions about the role of the United Nations in preserving international peace and security, as well as the challenges and opportunities associated with post-conflict reconstruction and development. Furthermore, the topic of United Nations peacekeepers involvement in Ukraine is relevant today because the conflict in different parts of Ukraine continue to have a negative impact on the lives of local residents and the country's economy as a whole. Peacekeeping has proven to be one of the most effective tools available to the United Nations to assist host countries navigate the difficult paths from conflict to peace. United Nations peacekeepers play a crucial role in providing security, protecting civilians, and facilitating the delivery of humanitarian assistance. Peacekeepers are soldiers, police officers, and civilians personnel from United Nations member states who are deployed to areas of conflict around the world to help maintain peace and security. The primary objective of United Nations peacekeeping missions is to support the implementation of peace agreements and promote sustainable development in the host country. Overall, since the beginning of peacekeeping missions that have been ongoing since 1948, the United Nations has conducted 71 peacekeeping operations, more than 1 million military and civilians personnel from over 120 countries worldwide have participated in this operation. Currently, the United Nations conduct 14 peacekeeping operations in support of peace in the Democratic Republic of Congo, the Central African Republic, Western Sahara, and etc. Ukraine, like other states, has a responsibility to ensure international security and peaceful conflict resolution and actively participates in peacekeeping operations under the auspice of the United Nations. The country has participated in 22 United Nations peacekeeping missions since 1992, with its peacekeepers being deployed in various conflict zones around the world, such as Liberia, Western Sahara, and etc. However, as a country that has been in a state of conflict since 2014, Ukraine may consider the presence of peacekeepers on its territory as necessary. At the time, such presence can have both positive and negative consequences for the country. Positive consequences of the presence of peacekeepers in Ukraine include human rights protection. It means that peacekeepers can protect human rights and prevent possible violation of the rights of conflict participants. The presence of peacekeepers in Ukraine can also have negative consequences, interference from other countries. With the presence of peacekeepers in Ukraine, there may be a sense of interference in the country's internal affairs and excessive dependence on other countries, which can undermine the country's sovereignty. In conclusion, the topic of United Nations peacekeepers' participation in sustainable post-war development in Ukraine raises important question about the role of United Nations in preserving international peace and security, and the challenges of post-conflict reconstruction. United Nations peacekeepers have proven to be effective in providing security, protecting civilians, and facilitating humanitarian assistance in conflict zones. Ukraine, as a United Nations member state, actively participates in peacekeeping operations worldwide and views its involvement as a crucial component of its foreign policy. Thank you for attention. That's all.
Thank you, Katya. Thank you very much. So, dear guests, dear participants, I believe you might have some questions. So, if you do, you're welcome to ask the questions to Katya.
Katya, can I ask you a question, please? It's Niall here. Do you really believe that the UN peacekeeping might have a mission in occupied territories of Ukraine once the war is over, or what's your thinking on that?
I think that peacekeepers in territory in Ukraine don't must be, because there are many negative components, and I think that peacekeepers don't be in territory in Ukraine.
Ukraine, yeah. Okay. Thank you for that. That's clear. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Niall. Do we have more questions?
Well, peacekeepers, at the end of the day, they're there to keep the peace if both sides are willing to do so. When both sides are not, the results have not been good. For example, Srebrenica. Do you have thoughts on whether this is the kind of mission that they were appropriate for?
Katya, so what do you think? Well, we were discussing actually some of these questions on our lessons, and this is really a tough topic, because we all know, yes, that, well, behind peacekeepers, if they come on the territory, what it means, yes, and what could be the consequences, that there are really many threats, and they have to be present on the territory if it's really necessary. So, well, as the example that you named, well, we remember that it was a tough situation in that region, really, and it's really hard probably to say, well, whether they were necessary there or not, but we know that how many lives, unfortunately, how many people were killed, yes, and how violent the situation was there. So, well, only history probably, and I believe that still people who live on that territory, they are not happy 100%. They are not happy with everything that happened there, and they still are against all this. But, well, as for Ukraine, well, who knows? I'm sorry for interrupting. Yes, but this is a question. Well, how to say? Well, all of our topics here at this conference, this platform, as we are talking about this painful situation, yes, that touches all of us nowadays, not only people of Ukraine, but people all over the world. Yes, well, these are the questions to be discussed, to be thought over, and really, well, it's even sometimes hard to think, hard to predict, yes, what can happen, what can be. Well, some of the positions from the historical point of view only probably can be discussed in the future, yes, when everything is over. So, well, Katya, would you like to add something? And maybe you have some ideas. Well, would you like to answer to the question?
I have the same idea. I agree with you, and really, it's topic and is very difficult and arguable, and it need to research and That's all.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. So do we have more questions? Michael, maybe you would like to add something as well and just give your opinion on that. It would be interesting to hear your point of view.
I think UN peacekeepers will do more to constrain Ukraine than Russia. I think that UN peacekeepers are effective in keeping a peace only if both sides wish, and that they will end up, at least on the Ukrainian side, freezing the conflict in place if and when they come in. In other words, Ukraine will be unable to attack, but Russia may be much less constrained. So you will end up, I think that you will end up in a situation which disadvantages Ukraine compared to Russia if you bring them in. But that's my personal opinion.
Thank you very much. Well, thank you very much. And I believe that many people here think the same way as well. So it's just one of the possibilities. And I believe that all of the possibilities have to be taken into consideration. But the very important thing that you said at the very beginning is that both sides have to be willing to do something. And maybe then if both sides are willing to do something, there would be no need in peacekeepers, there will be no need in any other, just sit and say, we are okay, we are done with that. Well, but thank you very much. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for your ideas. Well, probably if we don't have any more questions here, let's move on and let's listen to our next speaker. And it is Alexander Sasha Bulach. And I believe Sasha is here. Let me see, just yes, Sasha.
Yeah, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So let me start. On February 21st, almost 80 years of peace in Europe were interrupted by the outbreak of full-scale aggression on Ukrainian territory. And for more than a year, Ukraine has been a target of constant bombardments by the Russian Federation with all available weapons they have. And it causes devastating damage, including to civilian and critical infrastructure. According to our Prime Minister Denis Shmyhal, the total reconstruction demand in Ukraine as of June 2022 will reach $349 billion. Now this number became much higher, and it's circa $700 billion. Therefore, also the post-war state will face many challenges in reconstruction, and foreign investment can become one of the most important sources of income for the Ukrainian economy and indirectly for the state budget. It is necessary to compare our today's situation with post-war Europe after Second World War. Ukraine is facing similar and, in some aspects, more serious challenges, and it is therefore necessary to consider the main historical aspects of creating favorable conditions for foreign investment. The experience of Western Europe with a market economy will be more relevant, as Ukraine will take it as an example. And among the post-war countries, we can take the example of France, which after more than 4 years of devastating hostilities on their territory needed reconstruction. So the main sources of investment in French economy after Second World War were self-financing of companies in the amount of almost 50% of all industrial investments. Then special government funds partially received on the basis of foreign aid, inflationary financing through the repricing of the Central Bank of France, and many other sources of investment. It should be noted that French economy on that time was guided by a certain sequence of national plans, each of which covered a period of 4 or 5 years, And these plans were intended to indicate the goals of economic growth and development strategies. In 1950, French Foreign Minister Robert Schuman proposed the creation of European Coal and Steel Community, which later helped to integrate France into the European Union. And the most interesting thing to emphasize here is that two enemies, that is Germany and France, were united by this union. And that's why European coal and steel community played a significant role in shaping the post-war economy for not only France, but the whole Western Europe. A significant contribution to the recovery of French economy was made by the United States of America, whose investments contributed to the competitiveness of national companies, attracting capital and technology needed to modernize and expand their activities. So I can say that the historical experience of France shows that only through close cooperation and effective domestic economic reforms, it is possible to attract foreign investors, even taking into account the investment climate of a post-war and devastated country, which moreover was fully under occupation for more than 4 years, from Dunkirk to Marseille. And that's the more interesting thing here. It is important to take into account the legal aspect of creating favorable conditions of foreign investment, which is the existence of a perfect regulatory framework. First of all, it is appropriate to mention the law of Ukraine on the regime of foreign investment, which establishes state guarantees for the protection of foreign investment, state registration, and control over the implementation of investments. It is necessary to say that in the beginning of Ukrainian independence, two essential legislative acts were adopted. There are laws of Ukraine on protection of foreign investments in Ukraine and on investment activity, which became the first and fundamental documents of independent Ukraine. Then let me mention the law of Ukraine on elimination of discrimination, taxation of business entities established with the use of property and funds of domestic origin. This law is this legislative act is particularly important in regulating investment activity, and it contains provisions that are intended to protect competition between business entities, and it helps to involve the foreign investment. And when we take into account modern laws of Ukraine, so at the end of 2020, the law of Ukraine on the state support for investment projects with significant investments in Ukraine was adopted, which significantly updated investment legislation and improved the investment climate in Ukraine. This law laid the groundwork for attracting domestic and foreign investment to Ukraine, creating new jobs, developing Ukrainian regions, and increasing competitiveness of the economy. As we know, however, a new challenge to Ukrainian legislation was posed on 24th of February 2022, and therefore this law needed to be expanded and supplemented. As the result, Verkhovna Rada registered draft amendments to the law of Ukraine, and so these amendments expanded the role of this legislation in Ukraine, and among these legislative acts, it is necessary to single out a number of codes, the adoption of which contributed to the beginning of positive changes in the legislative processes, economic code, civil code, tax code, customs code, land budget codes, and it is necessary to create a reliable legal basis to have more and more foreign investment, especially when we're speaking about the post-war country. And all in all, I can just add that Ukrainian lawmakers doing a great amount of job to create actually reliable legislative base. Yeah, we have now martial law, and then for the peaceful country, and Ukraine will have heavy burden on its shoulders, and foreign investment will be one of the key tools in the hands of post-war Ukraine to overcome all challenges. Thank you.
Thank you, Sasha. Thank you very much. So I would just like to remind that Sasha's topic was effective post-war investment into the Ukrainian economy, historical and legal aspects. And that's why we were talking so much about investment and the real crucial need of it. So my dear participants, my dear guests, would you like to ask some questions? Do you have any comments to this one? You're welcome.
Can I just ask a question of Sasha? Very well thought out, Sasha. You said that Ukraine is creating a reliable base with its legislation. Now, I'm living in London where we have lots of legislation, but the government has a very terrible record of ensuring that those laws are properly regulated. And they don't resource the implementation and checking of those laws. What do you think needs to happen in Ukraine for those laws to be properly implemented?
Thank you for your question, sir. First of all, it is necessary to say that Ukraine has a great amount of Soviet heritage also in legislation, and that's why Ukraine needs to incorporate some European norms in our legislation. But compared with the United Kingdom, we have some, I can say, different ways of development for the domestic regulation of laws. And yeah, that's why Ukraine belongs to Roman Germanic legal system, and United Kingdom belongs to Anglo-Saxon legal system. But in my viewpoint, I can say that Soviet heritage, it is, and also corruption and other problems, but first of all, some Soviet consequences that still remain in many Ukrainian legislative acts. There are the most significant problem, and Ukraine needs to solve them to be the member of European community as soon as possible. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Incorporate European norms. Thank you. That's what I'm hearing. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your question and thank you for your answers. So do we have more questions?
Yeah. So for the first 30 years of Ukrainian independence, much of the laws that you've described, were implemented, or at least were enacted during much of that time. But economic performance in Ukraine for the past 30 years before this war began has not been stellar. You shouldn't expect that if you continue doing the same thing, that results will be different. You now have a crisis. And there's an old saying, never let a crisis go to waste. What are the key things you think Ukraine needs to do during this crisis in order to make the future different from the past?
Yeah, thank you. That's a pretty interesting question, because Ukraine is actually a young state. We are independent since 1991. And that's why, as I have recently said, we need a lot to do with the Soviet heritage. But by the way, before the war, Ukraine in some spheres was actually extremely dependent from our northeastern neighbor, and also that's the fact that many norms, many, I can say, legal traditions of former Soviet republics were infiltrated not just in our legislation but also in our society. And I can say that this war, yeah, it is pretty devastating for the Ukrainian people and for the Ukrainian territory. But that was before, and before Ukraine was more closer actually to the eastern part of Europe. And now after this war, because this war is not just for the Ukrainian independence and territorial integrity, but it is also for the European traditions, for the European society. And after this war, course of Ukraine that was established not just a long time ago, a few years ago, will be guided by Ukrainian people and by the Ukrainian states in a new direction. Because all wars change everything. They not just change the war and some domestic processes in a particular country, but also in the whole world. And Ukraine, after this war, will actually turn into the one direction, that's the Western direction. And I suppose that Ukraine won't make such mistakes before the 2014 and 2022, because we had a lot of problems, because one of our president was 3 times convicted. You know who is this president, and yeah, we will have a lot to do actually. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Sasha, for your response. Yes, well, as you can see, dear participants, that really these topics are very crucial, very essential, and well, they are to be discussed. And we are happy that our students, our young generation are taking part, are participating in this process, and they have their point of view, they have their opinion. Well, it's made on the basis of the situation that is happening nowadays, on the basis of their studies, of their education. So thank you very much. Thank you all. So I believe if we don't have any more questions with this topic, we can move on to our next speaker. And our next speaker is Irina Kolodijczyk, and her presentation and her topic is a reconstruction program for Ukraine following the war. So Ira, you are welcome. You're very welcome.
Hi, the post-war reconstruction of Ukraine.
Would you, sorry, we have some technical probably issues. Just a second, yes. I don't see, probably Ira disconnected, so just let's give it a second.
Sorry, internet connection is not good. The post-war reconstruction of Ukraine. The 8-year war of the Russian invasion of Ukraine has resulted in devastating damage to the country's physical, economic, and human infrastructure, caused great damage to our population. The process of rebuilding of Ukraine will be long, expensive, and difficult, but the reconstruction of Ukraine offers a unique opportunity to rebuild the country in a modern, secure, and Eurocentric manner. After the war, a lot of work will be for us, lawyers. All those who destroyed, killed, murdered, stole humanitarian aid from allies, and collaborated with the enemy should stand trial and be held accountable. It is our very first priority after the war to establish the rule of law in our country. This challenge is already being prepared at the global level by The Hague. Unfortunately, our legal system and structure are far from perfect. Corruption in this area, government is constantly pointed out to us by our partners, and our ability to join to the European Union depends on how we solve this problem. To date, the Verkhovna Rada has adopted a law regulating the conduct of restoration work to eliminate the consequences of armed Russian aggression. It has already been signed by the President and entered into force on March 21. But we still have a lot to do in this area. Simultaneously with putting things in order in legislation and jurisprudence, we should restore the country. We need large financial and humanitarian investments, construction materials, construction workers. But first of all, we need to plan to make the design and requirements for these reconstruction efforts and restoration of all the destroyed areas. The world has experienced with post-war reconstruction. Examples are the reconstruction of Iraq and Afghanistan, as well as reconstruction following severe natural disasters. Already now, we should learn the expense of previous accidents. The road to peace and stability is filled with challenges. The level of economic development, proximity to the European Union, and a strong sense of common purpose and unity within Ukraine provides cautious cause for optimism. President of Ukraine Volodymyr Zelensky emphasized the importance of a large-scale plan to rebuild the country after the end of the war with Russia. For this, according to him, a strategic international support plan for Ukraine is needed, which will be a modern analog of the historical Marshall Plan. German Finance Minister Christian Lindner has proposed an international program to rebuild Ukraine after the end of the Russian invasion. Highly important for us is the restoration of infrastructure, houses, power facilities, water supply facilities, roads, bridges, and much more. Our people need homes where to live, children must go to schools. All of us need to work to earn for living. All this will appear after restoration of the economy. Sure, we need investments, and our partners, practically the best part of the world, are ready to help us. As for the economy, the first things we need to do is to build factories and create more jobs. Attract investors from all countries to build many industrial and business enterprises, because Ukraine has fertile land and minerals, and this needs to be used in the right way. Other not less important measures. First is security and defense measures. It is necessary to build plants and factories that will produce weapons, to conduct regular training for the military and improve their skills. Second, it's a development of the education system, opening of schools, kindergartens, universities, ideally free education for Ukrainian citizens and better quality than now. Four is development of the culture and sports system to create training facilities for our athletes to complete around the world in the future. And as a conclusion, I can say that the war has caused great damage to all spheres of life, but I will be a push for us to build a Eurocentric country in which the law rules. We have many challenges and a lot of work ahead for us, but Ukrainians have shown the world that we will never give up and will only go forward and try to do our best.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your presentation. So, do we have any questions to our speaker, to Ira? If yes, you are very welcome. Niall, yes, I see.
Yeah. Yes, hello. Irina, you mentioned a lot of things, Marshall plans, all the right things. And I believe you're right, the European Union have agreed with the Ukrainian government how each country will invest in each region. So there's a lot going ahead. You always refer back to the rule of law, which is absolutely correct. What do you think needs to happen to ensure that the rule of law is applied in a way that will help Ukraine to prosper?
Hi, I'm only the first year student. Please, you repeat your question.
Yeah, so my question to you is, what do you think should happen in Ukraine to ensure that the rule of law, as you think it should be implemented, is implemented? How do you get the right rule of law in Ukraine? What do you think needs to happen?
One second, please.
Іра, якщо тобі потрібна допомога, то я можу допомогти, да, з перекладом? Пояснити?
Ні, переклад я зрозуміла, просто треба тепер думку вкласти трошечки.
So yes, let's give her a second to make up her mind about the answer. Yes, because well, as you can see, this is just the thing that while she is thinking, I will just interrupt a little bit. This is the thing that we have here in this conference, students of different years. Yes, and this is really cool because we have an opportunity, you know, to hear different points of view from different experience. Well, that's for sure in the first and the second and the third year. So Sasha and Katya, they are the students of the third year, and they're, well, let's say, yeah, well, probably they are more experienced, they're a bit more experienced. Yes, they have more knowledge already, more views. And yes, their program is international law, so they have more knowledge in this. And well, Ira, you are welcome. If you are ready with your answer, you are welcome.
Yes. No, sometimes our Ukraine has more investments in the construction of our country, and our country should adapt the experience of other countries.
Yeah, and Sasha kind of said the same. He referred to France, but pick and choose what's working elsewhere and try to implement that. A very good answer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, well, I believe that still it's always a big question. Yes, where to invest, who is going to invest? But I heard already, well, recently these days, that our president signed a big contract with one of the world famous investing giants. Yes, and well, probably they will take care at some point, and they will have to think about this. So this is also a good idea to, let's say, attract people from abroad, like professionals who really know what to do, how to do it on a professional level. And of course, as you are saying, well, from our side, we just have to provide legal basis, well, legal, let's say, implementation and supervision of all this. But at the same time, I believe that the supervisors from abroad have to be present as well. So this process is transparent, clear, and yeah, well, internationally acknowledged. So this is important. Well, thank you very much. Do we have more questions or maybe comments? Yes, Michael?
Well, I'm going to ask, kind of a similar question to my previous one. Ukraine didn't get the investment it needed before this war in order to develop. What do you need to change so that after the war, the investment will come? As specifically as possible.
Do we have this question for Irina or for like
for Irina? Well, for
Irina.
Irina or for you if you prefer to answer, but it's Irina's show, right?
Yes, for sure. Ira, you're welcome.
Вибачте, будь ласка, я погано почула запитання, зв'язок переривається. Можна? Repeat, please.
Що треба зробити? What does Ukraine have to do, or Ukrainians, or the government has to do to attract more investment? Yes. What are our steps? What they have to be?
I put it into the chat so you can read it.
Thank you. В чаті маємо запитання. Іра, якщо тобі зручніше, if it's easier, yes. If it's easier for you, check the chat, please, and there you can see the question. I will read it
To
once.
beat corruption.
Not bad.
Not bad, yes.
Any thoughts on how? It's very easy to say eliminate corruption. But for example, do you have any good models for other countries that you think did a good job of this and particular time periods when they did it?
1 second.
I believe we are not talking about the cruel ones as in Singapore.
Dear Olena, sorry for interrupting. Dear students, let me remind you, this is a student conference. Please make participation active. Please put questions and take part in our discussion. And teachers also, okay? It is not conference only Michael, Niall, and dear Olena, right? It's a conference, student conference, okay? But Michael, you know the big step will make, has make in nowadays. Yesterday, our head of Supreme Court of Ukraine was arrested, you know, and,
Yes.
and not so small sum. It is very good step. I think we need change the investment climate in our country. Also, we need to make connection with the investor as you, and you can see the young prominent lawyers, and you can choose the one of them, and that's all.
It's probably about also the system of punishment, not just, yes, that other people, they must see if we are talking about corruption, yes, and if we are talking about this process and that Vladimir just mentioned, yes, it's about the real punishment for the deeds and responsibility in the highest, let's say, bodies of government here in, well, in Ukraine especially, but well, Ira, are you ready? Maybe other students would like to answer, to give their ideas, opinions as well.
Yes, I think we must dismiss all officials who are involved in corruption affairs. And that's all.
Thank you.
And can I just
Okay,
add,
thank you, Michael.
just one point, can I just add, look at small countries like the Republic of Ireland and what they have done to be hugely successful at attracting investment, and copy what they've done. Learn from their experiences. That's what, you know, Poland is doing well, as Michael mentioned earlier. Ireland is doing incredibly well. What are they doing? Learn from them. Sorry,
Thank you very
No, I think
much.
though those are good examples. For corruption, I think you can look at Hong Kong with the formation of the ICAC while under British rule. That's a very interesting story, including almost a civil war between the ICAC and the police, who were one of the centers of corruption, where literally people were shooting at each other, two different arms of the government. You can look at the United States in the 1950s. And again, a pretty successful cleanup of very widespread entrenched corruption done primarily by the FBI. And you need systems and processes, because otherwise the people who are supposed to clean up the corruption become corrupt. And then instead of eliminating the corruption, what they eliminate is their competition.
Right.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your ideas, yes, for your examples. Thank you very much. A vision, yes, well, it's really valuable. And well, do we have anything else to add to this? And we are moving on. I believe that this question will be more and more arising in our further reports. Okay, so let's continue then. Let's move on to our next speaker, Arsen Barsegyan, and his well, his topic of the speech is aspects of European impact on recovery of post-war Ukraine. So, Arsen, you are welcome.
Yeah, good afternoon to everyone once more. I'm so grateful for our leadership to present my work now. So my report sounds like aspects of European impact on recovery of post-war Ukraine. So let's begin. First of all, it's necessary to determine the relevance of the topic because it is certainly connected with the events of the present. Thus, on February the 24th, 2022, the Russian Federation launched a full-scale military invasion of Ukraine, which caused essential damage in the social, economic, and political sectors of human life. The war also significantly influenced the European integration processes, which in recent years have come to an end. However, military actions hardly slowed down the processes of European integration, even though the determination of Ukrainian people to join the European Union has only become greater, and the willingness of the European Union to help Ukraine is manifested not in words, but in deeds. We can trace the comprehensive assistance from the European Union and the guarantees of the post-war reconstruction of the country. First of all, it is necessary to determine the legal basis of the European Union's assistance to Ukraine in the conditions of restoration and post-war reconstruction. First and foremost, back in 2014, Ukraine signed the association agreement between Ukraine and the European Union. Since that moment, the strengthening of integration processes began. In general, the adaptation of Ukrainian legislation to European Union standards is a difficult and long process. But according to 2023, Ukraine has fulfilled about 70% of the conditions that put forward by the European Union. A significant contribution was made to the harmonization of legislation within the framework of private international law, namely aspects related to the issue of intellectual property law. However, certain conditions remain unfulfilled. Within the outbreak of war, legislative and law enforcement processes slowed down significantly. However, on February the 28th, 2022, the president of Ukraine applied for accession to the European Union, and taking into account the situation as a whole, on June the 23rd, 2022, the European Council assigned Ukraine the status of candidate for European Union membership. To control the process and coordinate joint actions, 7 principles were adopted in Lugano, which will become a basis for restoring Ukraine, part of which will be financed by international donors and partners. So, the war with the Russian Federation led to a significant stagnation and decline in Ukrainian economy, which was reflected in the fall of GDP, the shortage of certain goods, and the decline in incomes, etc. Also significantly worsened the issue of unemployment. That is why on July the 4th, 2022, an international conference was held in Lugano, the purpose of which was to solve the details of the process of reforming the public structures of Ukraine at first. But, given the military actions on the part of the Russian Federation, the main issue was the post-war reconstruction of Ukraine. Thus, 3 stages of reconstruction were identified. The first one, the initial stage, that is measures to restore the most important objects of critical infrastructure, which was completed in 2022. This stage covers the restoration of business and residential buildings. The second stage is a transitional stage. It is the implementation of programs from a single plan during 2022 up to 2032. And the final stage, which provides for the final harmonization of legislation and socioeconomic aspects under the European Union standards. Within the framework of the implementation of the first stage, the National Council for the Restoration of Ukraine was created. It's an advisory body under the President of Ukraine that is intended to overcome the consequences of the war of the Russian Federation against Ukraine. Then Ukraine also became a member of a Digital Euro program and will join projects with funding of 6 billion euros, which was also carried out as a part of European integration. This funding is aimed at the development of artificial intelligence, cloud services, digital skills, and high-performance computers, as well as funding for the use of digital technologies in the economy and society. On May the 12th, 2022, Ukraine also signed a high-level understanding to update maps of the Trans-European Transport Network, TNT, within the framework of the Commission's policy to extend TNT to the nearest countries aimed at developing the logistic and transport network. In general, as a result of the conference in Lugano, 7 principles were adopted, namely its partnership, according to which the government of Ukraine will lead the process of restoration and implement it together with international partners. Its focus on reform, transparency and accountability, rule of law, democratic participation, attracting new stakeholders, gender equality and inclusion, as well as sustainable development. Also, at this conference, 15 priority programs of assistance and financing to Ukraine were identified. It's microfinancial assistance, budget support, loans, debt securities, donations, restructuring of external debts, grants, etc. Considering the support of the European Union as a whole, we can note the following contributions to the restoration of Ukraine. You know, since the beginning of the war, about 50 billion euros have been allocated to help Ukraine. It's 37.8 billion euros to support its overall economy, social and financial well-ability, and about 12 billion euros for military assistance provided within the framework of the European Peace Fund and directly by the member states. Also, on January the 26th, 2023, an interdepartmental donor coordination platform was created to support the reconstruction and restoration of Ukraine. The platform creates conditions for close coordination between international donors and financial institutions and provides consistent, transparent, and accountable support. So, taking everything into consideration, it is worth emphasizing the European Union's significant contribution to the support and financing of Ukraine in the framework of European integration processes, which significantly helps Ukraine to resist the aggressive attack of the Russian Federation and gradually recover. Thus, given the determination of the European Union actions, there is an opportunity for close cooperation in the future within the framework of European integration and getting more help in rebuilding our country. That's all from me. Thanks a lot for your attention, and I would like to ask I would like to reply your questions if you have so.
Thank you very much for your presentation. So, dear guests, dear participants, you are welcome to address your questions to Arsen. Okay, so we don't have more. Well, I would like to ask one maybe.
Sorry, I have one. Okay, Arsen, what is your proposition?
Well, now, you know, first of all, Ukraine is a candidate of a membership to the European Union. We are about to enter the European Union, and now we have to resolve some issues in our legislation. We have to harmonize our legislation to the European Union standards. Now we have some like challenges because the war still goes on, and first of all we need to stop the war. We need to concentrate on the rebuilding of Ukraine by our own. And the second one, I think we need to attract some international investors to our economy to help Ukraine recover. And speaking of European integration processes, of course, it is so important for us to be a part of European Union, to get more maintenance and support from our partners, from our allies, from the Europe. And, you know, I think that giving us a status of candidate is the first and essential part of this long process. We know it's like now 9 years of our first step, signing the association agreement between Ukraine and European Union. So even after the 9 years, we get this candidate status. Of course, it's not them it's not all. We need to do more. We need to process this integration and continue lots of legislative and different aspects of integration. But in general, yes, I think it's the most important for us now is to finish the harmonization and to get more support from the people of Europe, because people are the country, people are the state, people are the governments, and the people's view and opinion give us support and give us our maintenance.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have more questions?
Yes, let me ask one. When
Yeah.
Ukraine joins the European Union, Ukrainians will have the right to work in any EU country.
Mhm.
And in the vast majority of EU countries, they'll be able to earn far more than they can at home in Ukraine. What do you think the impact of that is going to be on Ukraine's ability to retain the people it needs in order to rebuild?
Well, I think that the process of integration also comes with the development of our economic and economy. And, like economical aspects of Ukraine will increase as well as our joining to European Union. And I hope so that our payments and our funds will increase as well. And we don't need the financial support from the European Union in the future, in the far future, of course. It's not about now, but speaking about now, I think, lots of people who want to come to Europe, they just immigrate to the European Union now and they earn their money there, so they don't need to be a part of the European Union. However, of course, I'm sure that such things will happen, but I hope that international investors will help us to rebuild our economy, and it will lead to the increasing of our own potential, of our own resources to satisfy our people without some additional international help.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your interesting questions, your interesting answers. From my side, I would just like, to mention one thing that, I recently, for this year, I saw that the patriotic mood of our people, of Ukrainian people in general, has risen immensely. And it's more likely that even if we, or when we join the European Union, when Ukraine joins the European Union, still a lot of our people, our young people, they would like to, hopefully they would like to remain on the territory of Ukraine and, let's say, invest their knowledge, their forces into rebuilding of Ukraine. And I believe that the students, when I see that Arsen is just nodding his head, he's supporting.
Yes, of course.
Yes, because a lot of students, with whom we communicate, they really say that those who are abroad now, they're extremely willing to come back and to do something for our country. The same as my generation, like those people who are in their 30s, 40s, 50s, once they had the opportunity to leave Ukraine and remain abroad, they said, no, we are coming back, we have our homes here, and we want to do something to support our country. So, hopefully this spirit, it will remain and nothing will break it. So, that's our expectations and, let's say, experience, for now. Let's see what's going to happen in the future. Well, on this positive note, I would like to move on. Thank you very much. Once again, thank you very much. And I would like to move on to our next speaker, and it will be Nadia Savchuk. Well, we have some slight changes in the order of the presentation, as one from the presentation you saw, the program you saw previously. But still the presenters are the same, the topics are the same. It's just the order due to some technical issues. Okay, so our next speaker is Nadia Savchuk, and her topic is, she will be presented the topic with the name of regulation regarding the fixation of destruction for the elimination of the consequences of hostilities and the restoration of infrastructure in post-war Ukraine. So Nadia, welcome, you are very welcome. The floor is yours.
Good afternoon. Before I start my speech, I would like to say that I'm very grateful to Volodymyr Volodymyrovich Machuisky for the organization of this important conference and the opportunity to share the result of my research today. It wasn't an easy work, but the topic is relevant and corresponds to our reality. So, on February 24, of 2022 year, Ukraine found itself at the forefront of the struggle for its territorial integrity due to the armed aggression of the Russian Federation. This act of aggression led to significant destruction on the territory of Ukraine. In this complex situation where war has turned into an everyday reality, legal regulation on the fixation of justice and the restoration of infrastructure. Turning to statistics, the total amount of direct documented losses to residential and non-residential real estate, other infrastructure amounted to more than $100 billion, or approximately 2.6 trillion hryvnias. The most affected are the regions of Ukraine in which hostilities were directly fought. It's Donetsk, 25% of all damage and destruction in monetary terms, Kharkiv, Luhansk, Mykolaiv, Zaporizhia, also Kyiv and Chernihiv regions. According to preliminary data of the regional military administrations, the total number of destroyed or damaged housing stock is about 100,000 buildings. Statistics make it clear. The tasks of eliminating the consequences of hostilities and rebuilding infrastructure are urgent. For this, first of all, it's necessary to fix the damaged and destroyed objects with the aim of their further restoration or compensation. In accordance with the procedure for the implementation of urgent works for the liquidation of the consequences of the armed aggression of the Russian Federation related to the damage to buildings and structures, for proper fixation is carried out property condition survey procedure. That is why it can be assumed that the fixation of damage and destruction is the result of the survey. That is, the result of the survey is the fixation of the state or that object and the decision or further action regarding it. Thus, according to clause 7 of the procedure for the inspection of the object, it includes a set of measures aimed at determining and assessing an actual values of the parameters of the technical condition of building structures, the characteristics of the foundation, engineering network and systems, except for technological equipment that characterize the operational reliability of the object. It's important to note that it's not allowed to carry out an inspection of the object based only on photographs, video recordings, drawings without a visual inspection. However, the results of photographing the object, which testify to the nature and extent of the destruction, must be attached to the report of the Commission survey. It's also important to define the circle of subjects who have the right to initiate the inspection of objects and who are responsible for fixing the damage or ensuring that it's fixed. The inspection can be carried out at the decision of the owner or manager of the object, or damaged object can be carried out according to the decision of the authorized bodies. That is, there are at least several subjects by whose decision the procedure for inspecting damaged objects can and should be initiated. According to the procedure for the implementation of urgent works on the liquidation of the consequences of the armed aggression of the Russian Federation related to the damage or damage to buildings and structure by subjects who are responsible for fixing the damage or ensuring that such fixing is carried out, their executive bodies of village, settlement, city council, military administration, central executive bodies, management bodies, and civil defense forces. From this, it can be concluded that authorized body acts as an important link in the process of fixing and liquidating the consequences of armed aggressions, since such activity is carried out within the territorial unit, which is covered by the competence of the authorized subject, which makes it possible to contribute to the restoration of infrastructure faster and more efficiently. Also, according to his decision, the survey of damaged object is carried out, the work plan is approved, and important details of the survey are established, namely the type of survey, commission or technical, as well the sequence and terms of work performance. In this process, it's
I believe we are having some technical issues, yes.
Bad
No.
internet connection, very bad internet, low internet connection.
Okay, so well, let's just give it a second. Well,
You know, she's not at home. I'm her teacher. She's not at home. She's in the cafe somewhere because she doesn't have any internet connection in her house.
okay, so it can
It's somewhere outside.
Okay, it
That's
can
why
be-
it's so difficult for her.
Okay, thank you very much for yes. Well, you see, we are working in this situation. Yes, that everybody well is joining from where possible and impossible.
Yes,
Well,
maybe she will continue. Yes, a little bit later she can continue.
yes, we can wait for her to return, to come back, and then give
I
her
will write her.
opportunity, of course. Well, meanwhile, yes, I would just like to mention that, as I said previously, our student Plakhatnyuk Yulia, she won't be able to present her speech because unfortunately she has a bad sore throat and she cannot, well, speak and present the speech itself. Well, but her supervisor is here is with us, well, Tatiana Gular. So in any case, we thank you very much for this work, well, of your student. Well, dear colleagues, what should we do? Shall we move on with our next? Yes, and then when, as soon as Nadia comes back, we're gonna listen to her. Okay, so well, this is
Correct.
all. Yeah, okay, well, yeah, because this is also one of the very important questions, infrastructural questions, and the rebuilding of infrastructure is extremely important nowadays. So it would be interesting to listen to your opinions, yes, to your points of view on this topic. Okay, but for now, let's move on to our next speaker, and he's Maxim Levitsky. Maxim, I see you are just yes, here with your camera on. Thank you very much. And the topic of Maxim's presentation is legal and psychological approaches for post-war reintegration of people from occupied territories. And we can see Maxim has prepared a presentation as well. So you are welcome. The floor is yours.
Greetings to everyone, and huge thanks to organizers, huge thanks to my supervisor. It's so important for me to be there and to share my thoughts. And we would like to present you our paper, and it is about legal and psychological approaches for post-war reintegration of people from occupied territories. First of all, we have to say that aftermath of a war has some significant impacts on individuals and communities, and such as those who displaced or occupied. And of course, it is a really big struggling for them. And in this context, our Ukrainian case is really actual, because Russian Federation started their aggression against Ukraine since 2014, and Ukraine has to struggle with this issue for 9 years, and has some experience how to work and how to fix it. Actually, I should mention that some researchers spend several prominent scientists explored this topic, as you see on this slide. Yes, but in our opinion, our research indicates that there is some room to take a more deep study about this topic. So I think that it is also important to mention that not only researchers, but some international organizations and institutions also take active part in regulation of this issue, like United Nations Development Program, International Organization for Migration, Red Cross. They implemented such list of programs for post reintegration in Ukraine, and especially they tried to produce some post-war reintegration for people from occupied territories programs, and it's also so important. But I would like to mention about legal policy in Ukraine about this case. And as you know, our parliament regulated the internal displaced person status since 2014 by adopting the special statute on ensuring the rights and freedoms of internally displaced person. And there is a basis, legal basis for further steps that was made in further years, like cabinet minister adopted some strategies of reintegration people, and the last strategy was adopted at the beginning of April of this year, as I remember, at 7th of April. There's a strategy for 2025 year, how to reintegrate people successfully. And also I have to say that Ukraine established the special ministry of reintegration of temporarily occupied territories, and it also has facilitated the process and gave more opportunities for such people to be adopted in a normal life in controlled territory in Ukraine. But of course, there is still some room for challenges in our legislation, and it's a kind of problem because as in the one hand, we can see that we have a big list of different acts that regulates the question, but another drawback is that it's not so systemized as it has to be. In our opinion, it is really important to simplify the IDP legislation, maybe by adopting special integration code, because it would be a great idea to systemize all acts and regulate this in one specific act, because due to scale of IDP in Ukraine, especially from 2022 year, that increased in 4 times, it is really important. And of course, it is also important to continue to help these people to adapt in their new society. But not only legal aspect is important, psychological aspect isn't less important. And as you know, Russia has a strong source of propaganda, and they are spread a lot of misinformation, and they're trying to manipulate a lot of facts. They're trying to manipulate public opinion about Ukraine, and they're trying to create some hostile environment in that territory that they are occupied. And of course, it is an issue that has to be solved, but it is hard to find the ideal way, because, for example, as Suspilne, it is a national media of Ukraine, reported on March 28th of this year, Russian Ministry of Culture allocated 200 million rubles, about 96 million of hryvnias, to purchase and distribute Russian books to replace all of Ukrainian historical and literature books on the occupied territories. So you can see that it's kind of aggression that trying to change children's mind about Ukraine, and it is really dangerous, and it could make some bad consequences for a real long decades. So it also impacts on mental health, because conflict in Ukraine has resulted in high rates of depression and anxiety and some other syndromes among individuals from occupied territories. And right now, our government trying to provide these people from special programs with some special hotlines of support, some psychological retreatment, also some other acts, but it's not enough if we compare with the scale of IDPs that suffered from Russian aggression. And we have some tips, practical tips from the approach, like interdisciplinary approach and cultural and psychological approach, how to maybe how to fix these problems in a best way. I think that it is so important that government should work with scientists, with international organizations, with some unions, also to establish the best role, to establish the maybe best way to how to integrate these people in a normal way. And of course, it is really important to share cultural and national prices to people from occupied territories, because just if they want to share our Ukrainian identity, they will be happy to live there, and they will be really pleased to be in our society. So to conclude, I just want to add that this process of reintegration is a really hard and complex process that full of hardships, and the Ukrainian case highlights some need of further improvements, for further research about this topic to find the best solutions. And we hope that state policies must focus on inclusivity and create effective programs to aid reintegration efforts to reach a success in this field. So that's all. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your most interesting report and presentation. Well, welcome questions. From our guests, from our participants.
I noticed, just a very quick point, I noticed, Maskim, you mentioned for efficiency, you must simplify the IDP code. How difficult will that be, in your view?
In my view, it will be really hard challenge. First of all, thank you for your question, because it's just kind of our idea. It's not that effect, because we don't have any specified IDP codes in Ukraine. And we think that it's kind of our miss, because it is so important during the context. As you know, we have a lot of IDPs, especially this quantity has risen in the last year. And I think that this kind of relationships should be regulated by IDP code. But right now, we don't see maybe some intention from our government, from our parliament, to implement this code, because they're trying to fix this problem by some partly working decisions, like by providing some special programs, by adopting some special strategies, some special regulations, etc., not to adopt a special IDP code. So it will be a really tough challenge, but I think that some educational companies and media, maybe some other elements of people's will to provide this code in a result will give us the specified code, but it will be really a really long process, I think.
Thank you, Maskim.
Maxim, please make comment about illegal deportation of Ukrainian children in context of your report, please.
Thank you for the question. To be honest, we didn't consider this question in our research, but of course this problem is one of the biggest for our country, because Russia trying to depopulate Ukraine, trying to harm our demography by kidnapping our children, and this deportation also impacts on our educational system, because as we know, previous year we had many cases of maybe not of lack, but the quantity of students, of quantity of other young people who would like to study in Ukraine are really decreased, and the main reason, it's not only the immigration in Europe, it's deportation from the occupied territories, and of course it hurts so much. But right now it's quite hard to maybe define the concrete level of sequences. But I suppose that the effect of Russian deportation will be seen maybe in 5 years, in 10 years. It will be really hurting for us, I think, and we have to find a way how to cope with it.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for your answer.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you for your comments. Yes, thank you very much. This is, yes, another painful question for sure, but I believe that our government and the international community will find the ways of solution, yes, and solution to this, well, big, huge problem, because, well, the fact that the damage is done now, it will result in the future, and we will see this, and well, we're gonna have to think how to cope with it. Well, yes, thank you very much. Well, do we have any more questions to Maxim? Okay, so then thank you very much, Maxim. And I would like to mention that Nadia, our previous speaker, she came back. Well, and she just mentioned to me in a private message that she won't be able to switch on the camera, but I think that it's okay, no problem. Nadia, you are welcome to finish your report. And well, yes, let me know if you hear us.
Yes, I hear you.
Perfect.
Thank you so much for understanding. I'm with you again. Sorry, I'm without camera because I have some technical problems. So I will continue. We can conclude it that the category of damage to the object is determined based on the result of the preliminary inspection. Thus, the object can be recognized as destroyed, significantly damaged, slightly damaged, and as such that can be restored through ongoing repairs. Follow-up, different damage categories will be different. For object with minor damage, the mechanism for conducting commission inspection is established by the rules for the maintenance of residential buildings and adjacent territories approved by the Order of the State Building of Ukraine. Consequently, the Ukrainian infrastructure and housing stock were seriously damaged as a result of hostilities, which is why, in order to eliminate the consequences of this destruction, it's necessary to record the damaged and destroyed objects with the aim of their further restoration or compensation. The legal regulation of the fixation mechanism in Ukraine needs obviously further improvement and development, taking into account the small regulatory and legal framework for solving this issue. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you very much. Yes, thank you for being brave in this situation, but no worries, we all understand it's a technical issue. So do we have any questions to Nadia and maybe something to discuss on this particular topic? Any ideas, any comments? Okay, so we are all clear with this. Thank you very much. We will move on as the conference goes on. So our next speaker, our next participant is Nazary Savchuk, and his topic, legal aspects of a transition to a digital state in post-war Ukraine. Nazary, you are welcome.
Sorry, wait a second. Greeting to all, I am Savchuk Nazary. My supervision is Burday Valentina Volodymyrovna. The topic of my report is legal aspect of transition to a digital state in post-war Ukraine. The transition of Ukraine to a digital state involves the implementing of digital technologies and electronic service in the activities of the government, public bodies, business, and citizens. The process cannot be realized without ensuring legal regularity towards the use of digital technologies, protections the rights and freedoms of citizens, as well as ensuring data protection and important direction of legal reform in the field of forming a digital state is its institutional component. The understanding that the changing instruction of the state, a key to understanding the institutional component of legal reform is the field of digitalization of the state is significant element to understanding its nature. These days, the law of Ukraine on the protection of personal data is forced, and according to article on 180 and 39 of the Code of Ukraine, and administrative offenses responsible is provided for improved protection of personal data. However, as judicial practice shows, this article mostly applies to the illegal transfer of personal data. The legislation not only lacks definitions of the terms protection of personal data and procedure for protection of personal data, but also any requirements for the certain that such protection should meet, which is also a significant problem. Cybersecurity should apply preventive measures to prevent data loss from state information systems. This is particularly relevant during wartime when the aggressor seeks to obtain data on the provision of troops and personal data of military personnel through constant cyber attacks in order to put pressure on their families. It is necessary to ensure the creation of a new secure source system for information that will belong to Ukraine and will be under state control, as today we rent some servers for the function of state servers, which cannot guarantee protection for citizen and business. As for transition of Ukraine to a digital state is naturally to continue development and improve and implementing legislation regarding e-governance, e-documents, management, automated service, and digital interaction between government agency and citizen. This is of great importance in the context of rebuilding is simplifies the provision and government service for regiments as private enterprise and updating or revamping necessary documents. Why is legal regularity of virtual assets important? Regular virtual assets is equally important for the state and its people as it provide protection to investors. Electronics assets such as crypto currencies, token, and other digital assets can be highly volatile and vulnerable to fraud, manipulation, and other harmful activities. Regulation can establish rules and standards which have to be critical tools to protect investors, ensure transparency in markets, regulate activities of exchange and trading platform, and ensure consumer right respect abilities. This can help prevent the use to electronic assets for criminal activities. Electronic assets might have complex technical aspects for the require users to have high technologies professionally. Therefore, regulation may establish rules regarding information, personal data protection, security standard on the conditionals that relate to consumer rights. This will promote innovation by providing a stable and transparent legal basic for the development of new finance product and service. Unfortunately, today's law of Ukraine on virtual assets has been voted by the president of Ukraine due to the expediency of creating a new body and proposed to refer this issue to the National Security and Stock Market Commission. However, in my opinion, its expediency is convenience as it will be a powerful reinforcement for the Ukraine economic to stabilize its critical moments during was and post-war reconstruction. The transition of Ukraine to a digital state is a complex task that requires a harmonization of legislation with international standards, development of new regulators, acts, and effective implement of legislative change. The regulatory framework will enable the development of digital technologies, protection of citizen rights, and state inspect, and will also promote the effect functioning of a digital state in Ukraine, which will contribute to the recovery and development of your country after the war. That's all. Thank you all your attention. And I'm sorry, but I have to run to the doctor. Good luck to the next speaker, and thanks for you such a great event. Goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your presentation as well. And Valentina Vladimirovna is the supervisor. Thank you also for supporting your students. Well, I believe that
Okay, I would like to add that he's only first-year student and his level of English is not so high, but I liked his topic because it's really interesting for discussion. So I gave him opportunity to present his ideas here. Maybe excuse his pronunciation sometimes, but we will be working hard.
Thank
Valentina, it's so important what he discussed. And I notice in where I am in Western Europe, we do a lot of work with organizations teaching leaders and managers how to understand and use digital, because it's just developing so fast. And very interesting topic. So thank you. Thank you. And thank Nazar.
Okay. So,
Olena, I think we can say Michael Friedman say thank you because Michael need to leave us. He must have another meeting. Michael, thank you for your attention. Thank you for your participation. You know, also Michael is a big friend of Ukraine, and he is a good man. I hope your participants in our conference will be in the maybe autumn and so on. Thank you, Michael. I will write you. Good luck. Thank you.
Vladimir, thank you very much for inviting me. Thank you to all the students who presented and to everybody else who participated.
Yes, thank you.
Good luck. All the best.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Well, and yes, once again, thanks to everybody. Well, for participants, yes, and for our co-host Michael, thank you, and hope to see you next time, on the next conference.
Certainly.
And yes, thank you. Okay, so we will move on. We will continue. Well, and this topic, yes, that was just presented by Nazar is extremely, well, it was mentioned before, it is extremely interesting. It is extremely important. And from my side, I have to mention that a lot of people in Europe, well, and a lot of experts and just regular citizens, they say that, well, the way that our system already, I mean, like Ukrainian system is already being modernized, yes, and is already like being developing and developed. Well, it's probably in some points is even higher than somewhere in Europe. So we have to be proud, and we have to go on, support, and try to do even more that we can. So thank you. Let's move on. We have our next speaker, our next presenter, and this is Liza Yelizaveta Ternavskaya, and her presentation is on the topic that is called legal aspects of participation of banks in the post-war reconstruction of Ukraine. So, Lisa, you are welcome.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lizaveta, and I'm so grateful to be here and present our research. 1 second, I will. Our topic of our research is legal aspects of participation of banks in post-war reconstruction of Ukraine. Russia's unlawful decision to launch a full-scale invasion of Ukraine caused a wave of changes in the economy of our state. Russia's military aggression against Ukraine has destroyed and continues to destroy the Ukrainian economy, social transport and energy infrastructure, people's lives, destroying entire cities, villages, destroying the Ukrainian people and entire ecosystems of Ukraine. As a result of a full-scale war unleashed by Russia against Ukraine, the Ukrainian economy shrank by more than 35%. The scale of destruction of assets is already estimated at almost $144 billion, according to the Kiev School of Economics. And the volume of indirect losses of the economy, according to various estimates, is $750 billion, which is an unprecedented amount of destruction and losses during the Second World War. At the moment, there are risks directly related to the reliability of documenting the fact and volume of destruction and the correctness of determining the amount of damage for each fact. Therefore, the state is working on regulatory support for the assessment of losses. At the moment, there are several normative legal acts, and you can see them on the slide. To restore the destroyed objects and pay compensation, the Ukrainian state counts on various sources, including the recovery of money from the Russian Federation and the assistance of donors, such as the USA, the European Union, the World Bank, and private donations. We would like to note that many different measures are needed to rebuild the Ukrainian economy after the war. The main ones are infrastructure, construction of new facilities, business development, and development of education and science. Banks usually play an important role in financing projects to restore infrastructure, build housing, develop entrepreneurship, and other sectors of the economy. One of the most famous examples is the Marshall Plan, which was introduced after World War II to restore the European economy. As part of this plan, banks provided funding for infrastructure reconstruction and other economic recovery projects. Another example is South Korea's economic recovery after the Korean War. In this process, banks played an important role in financing projects to restore infrastructure and entrepreneurship. At the moment, banking legislation in Ukraine is not formed for banking institutions to participate in the post-war reconstruction of Ukraine. Therefore, it will certainly be necessary to amend the current banking legislation so that banks can participate in the post-war reconstruction. In particular, changes may be required to regulate lending to enterprises engaged in the restoration of infrastructure and other objects affected by the war. The Ministry of Finance of Ukraine announced the intention of our state to attract a grant of $2.5 billion from the World Bank Trust Fund. The government approved the draft order of the President of Ukraine on the delegation of Ukraine to participate in negotiations with the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development on the conclusion of the second grant agreement of the Trust Fund of many donors. Ukraine is also implementing a joint investment project with the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development and the International Development Association, support for public expenditures to ensure sustainable public administration in Ukraine, the total amount of which today is almost $15 billion and almost €1.5 billion. The participation of banks in the post-war reconstruction of Ukraine is a very important element of the country's economic development. Banks can help rebuild the economy by providing loans to enterprises and investors involved in infrastructure development, construction of new facilities, and business development. Banks can also attract investments from abroad to provide financing for large projects. It is important that banks have a stable financial base and adhere to transparent and effective lending methods. Banks can also provide financial support to small and medium-sized enterprises, which is important for creating new jobs and strengthening the country's economy. In addition to providing loans, banks must adhere to a number of legal aspects when participating in the post-war reconstruction of Ukraine. In particular, they must comply with legislation governing financial activities, as well as legislation relating to the construction and reconstruction of infrastructure facilities. Banks should take into account the risks associated with providing loans for post-war reconstructions and take measures to minimize these risks. Consequently, banks can play an important role in economic recovery after the war by providing funding for various projects and initiatives. The participation of banks in the post-war reconstruction of Ukraine has a number of legal aspects that must be taken into account to ensure effective and responsible activities. That's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Lisa. And well, as the tradition goes, well, any questions? Anything for discussion?
Yeah, just a quick question, if I may, Lisa. banks critical. So what do you think? What is your proposition? What must Ukrainian banks do to efficiently manage the distribution of funds? Have you any thoughts on that?
It's a very interesting question. Thank you very much. I think that first of all, we need that our banks should corruption system will be completely destroyed.
Eliminate
eliminate
corruption. Sorry for.
Yeah, eliminate corruption. Thank you very much. I just forgot this word. And also, we should bank system also should be added with a new young staff who has many ideas how they can help in reconstruction in Ukraine.
Well done. Without that resource, nothing will happen. So, okay, very interesting answer. Thank you.
And thank you very much. Yes, I believe so as well. And I also think we need an action plan. That's for sure. We need an action plan. And hopefully that all these young students will participate in developing this action plan. And then they, with their bright ideas, they will have, yes, they will introduce fresh air, as we say, yes, some fresh air. Okay, so thank you all. Well, we can move on, I believe. Yes, we can move on. And our next presenter is Anastasia Plavan. Nastya, are you here? Yes, I can see that you are here. Yes, thank you.
Yes.
And topic, yes, the topic of Nastya's presentation is peculiarities of legal regulation of the banking system of Ukraine in the post-war period. So you are welcome.
I need a demonstration of my presentation. 1 second.
I believe, yes, that you have the allowance. Yes, it's open for. Or do you need any assistance with that?
Yes, Irina Viktorovna will help me. 1 second.
Isn't it visible? I have already started, by the way.
No, there is no presentation.
Wow.
Yes.
Interesting. How can it be?
Yeah, it's not shared yet.
Sorry. Something went wrong.
Are you a host? Can you host? Because you have to be a co-host.
Yeah, I have. Yes, but kind of. Just a second.
Скрін, да, поділитися екраном у нас, і презентація сама відкрита на комп'ютері. So do we have the
presentation? Yeah, we have the presentation.
When we do the share screen, there has to be like an extra window appearing and you can choose from that window.
Sorry.
No worries, absolutely no worries.
We need help urgently because we have presentation and we want everyone to see
Maybe
it.
you can send it to me to my Telegram and I will do the presentation from my screen.
Sorry. I don't know why it's not working. Sorry.
No problem.
Just a second. So sorry for kept you waiting. So just I'm sending it to Vladimir Vladimirovich and he will assist us. No, at least we'll see. Sorry, Nastya, very sorry. I don't know what went wrong. Sorry, just accept my apologies.
It happens sometimes. Yes. So do we have like Vladimir Vladimirovich, the youngest? Yes, this,
Yeah.
yes.
Yes. Vladimir Vladimirovich, I have already sent. He got it. Yeah.
Okay, good. So just let's give it a second to load and to open the screen.
Nastya, everything's going to be fine.
Okay, we're here. Perfect. No worries. So let's start.
The full-scale invasion of the territory of our country has become a turning point for all spheres of public life. The financial sector of Ukraine has also felt the grave consequences of the war. The banking system is an important component of the financial sector, and its efficient functioning is the key to the development of the national economy. Strengthening the banking sector will be of the utmost importance in the post-war reconstruction of our country. That's why the issue of legal regulation of the national banking system in the period of post-war reconstruction is of great relevance. The next slide, please. The next. According to the National Bank of Ukraine in 2022, the next slide, please. Yes. The banking system of Ukraine faced many challenges, the main of which was overcoming operation challenges, but banks successfully passed this period and were able to adapt to such conditions. The next slide, please. According to Klemenko, in the post-war period, the banking system of Ukraine needs to be restructured. It's difficult to disagree with the opinion that one of the main tasks of banks in the post-war period will be to issue low-interest loans to businesses. In reviewing this issue, it's advisable to pay attention to the importance of implementation of the European Union norms, namely the European Union Directive. It should be noted that in the post-war period, the following problems will arise: recapitalization of the banking sector, development of plans for privatization of some large state-owned banks, development of effective processes to address the issue of non-performing loans that will be the legacy of the war. That's why the issue of post-war reconstruction of Ukraine's banking sector should be considered in the context of clear steps that should be enshrined as a reform. The next slide, please. The priorities of this reform should be, next slide, resolving the issue of NPLs, loans that have lost their value due to the war can be repaid by Ukraine's claiming Russian assets, frozen in third countries and centralized in a specialized agency. Commercialization of the banking sector. The solution to this issue requires privatization of most of the major state-owned banks in Ukraine. Next slide. Implementation of European Union norms. That's the harmonization of European standards for regulating the banking sector with Ukrainian legislation. Next. Thank you. Strengthening the development of money, securities, and bond markets. Support small and medium-sized businesses by reducing interest rates on loans and introducing rates on loans and introducing tax incentives. Ensuring predictability of revenues from partners countries and making commercialization commercial decisions to create a financial capital market after the reconstruction period. In our opinion, it will be necessary to regulate and consolidate these issues at the legislative level in the form of a reform or a strategy for post-war reconstruction and the stabilization of the banking sector of Ukraine, which will become the basis for further effective functioning of our country's economy. Thus, having analyzed all of the above, we can conclude that strengthening the banking sector will be extremely important in the post-war reconstruction of our country, as the banking system is an important component of the financial sector, the efficiency of which is the key to the development of the national economy. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. An interesting presentation as well. And well, as you can see, nothing can stop us. No technical issues can stop us. So thank you once again. Do we have any questions to our Nastya? Well, anything that could be of a discussion?
No, I just think your legislators are going to be very busy.
Exactly.
Really busy. Lots to happen. Yes. Yeah.
That's true. That's true. Yes. Well, but that's why they're studying now, you see.
Yes, indeed. Oh, I think there are lots of opportunities. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's one reason why people like Michael and maybe me is here, that we can introduce you. I work with banks in London. I can introduce you. If any of the teachers, you wanted a little session with a bank, or I work with the European Bank of Reconstruction and Development, and we could do a little session with you in class, half an hour. You could ask questions. So please reach out and use the resource that we can offer.
Absolutely, we will. I believe that for the next year, we will plan and we will include this, because now we are at the end of the term. But next year, 100%, just we will organize all this, because students already ask us and they want more communication, more live interaction, more real examples, and for them it is important, as well as for us, to hear, to listen, and especially, as you can see, they really have bright ideas, they really have very interesting point of view. So thank you very much for offering, yes, you and Michael, yes, and I'm sure that we will organize, we will implement this. Thank you. Okay, so let's move on. And well, I believe we are doing well. We are doing great with our timing. Yes, so we have the next speaker, and it is Yura, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, Yura is here. So Yura Besplemianny, and the topic is rebuilding Ukraine after the war. Priorities, and you're welcome.
Hello, everyone. Rebuilding Ukraine after the war, priorities. The war, which has been going on for 9 years, has caused serious damage to infrastructure, the economy, and other areas. The process of rebuilding Ukraine will be long and challenging, and it will require significant investments of resource, both financial and human. Although the war continues, it is already becoming clear that it's necessary to plan in advance preparation for the restoration of Ukraine after the significant destruction caused by Russians' brutal actions. After the war, it is important to consider the priorities for rebuilding Ukraine. One of the most pressing priorities for rebuilding Ukraine after the war is infrastructure. The first thing that needs to be done is to restore housing. Building residential infrastructure should follow best practice in urban planning. In addition, building damaged by the armed aggression of the Russian Federation need to be repaired. Due to the war's damage to critical infrastructure, electricity, heat, water, mobile communication, etc., it is necessary to build new power generation facilities that utilize renewable energy. The next priority is to restore infrastructure for transport, new roads, bridges, as well as humanitarian sphere, schools, hospitals, kindergartens. For Ukraine's economy to grow and for its citizens to live better, it is essential to rebuild this infrastructure. Economic development is another priority for rebuilding Ukraine after the war. During the war, many businesses and industries were disrupted or destroyed. To create new jobs and support businesses, government programs should be launched. Furthermore, it is crucial to attract foreign investments, develop new industries, and provide guarantees to commercial structures. In my opinion, war risk insurance for investments projects is a very important aspect for economic development. The economic development of Ukraine will be essential for its reconstruction and for providing a better future for its citizens. After the war in Ukraine, lawyers will have a lot of work in restoring the legal system and providing legal assistance to affected individuals. The work of lawyers will be diverse and may include following aspects. Legal assistance to the affected. Lawyers will provide consultation and support to affected individuals, which may include human rights violations, humanitarian issues, property laws, claims against authorities, and other similar matters. Restoring legality. Lawyers will work on restoring legality and maintaining law and order in the affected region. This may involve challenging illegal action and decisions, protecting human rights, restoring violated legal norms, and other similar actions. Document legalizations. During the years of occupation by the illegal Russian authorities, a large number of documents, including passport, property documents, permits, and others were issued. Lawyers will have to verify and legalize these documents in accordance with Ukrainian legislation. This may involve registration procedures, recognition, and restoration of the legal status of individuals who obtained such documents. Here are some other important directions: strengthening defense and security, reform and development of the defense industrial complex, aviation industry, etc., development of the educational system, investment in education and innovation. Funding should be prioritized for universities, research in institutions, and other educational programs, as well as encouraging innovation and commerce. Modernization of healthcare, development of culture and sports system. Ensure that social policy is effective. As a result, the war has severely damaged many aspects of our lives, but it has also accelerated the development of our country. We have a lot of work ahead of us, but Ukrainian society has already demonstrated that it will not give up and will only go forward to victory. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. And
Thank
here
you.
we have,
Thank you.
yes, detailed action plan. Here it is. Yes, just all structured as we want to see it. Thank you very much. So, do we have any questions? Anything to add?
No, I thought very well done, Yuria. And look, to get all the things you're requesting, economic development, restoration, it's all about having a legal system that people believe in, and especially foreign investors and banking institutions. They won't lend to you if you are not constant and have a high standard. That's what the West growth is all about: constancy, high standards. Okay, well done.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We are aiming, yes, we are aiming to high standards, and I believe that whatever is happening nowadays will only make us stronger, yes, and make it come true. So once again, thank you very much. And let's move on. Yes, if you do not mind, our next presenter is Nastya Anastasia Merzlyuk with her topic, Human Right to Free Choice of Place of Residence in the Temporarily Occupied Territory, Experience of Ukraine. So welcome.
Yes, thank you a lot. Humanity has gone through a stormy path on the way to asserting human rights, fighting step by step for the principle of the inviolability of their rights and freedoms. Establishing new opportunities for individuals became the beginning of large-scale changes in the social and political life of a country, a new understanding of the importance of a person in his relations with society and the state. Undoubtedly, in the list of basic human rights, special place is occupied by the right of a person to freely choose of his place of residence, declared in Article 33 of the Constitution of Ukraine. Ensuring human rights is one of the eternal global topics of every social, legal, democratic state. Since the beginning of the full-scale war of the Russian Federation against Ukraine, there have been known cases when representatives of the occupying state, under the pretext of evacuation, forcibly moved Ukrainian citizens who were temporarily occupied by the enemy to their own territory. Therefore, today in our country, the study of the human right to freely choice of a place of residence in the temporarily occupied territory, as well as the creation of effective methods of their provision and protection guarantees is relevant. Separate aspects of the investigated issue were covered in their scientific works by Rabinovich, Golubka, Denko, Parkhomenko, and others. However, despite a significant amount of scientific developments in this field, today there are still questions about ensuring the human right to freely choice of a place of residence in the temporarily occupied territory. Therefore, it will be appropriate to analyze the norms of the current national legislation and the norms of international law in the sphere of realization of the human right to freely choice of the place of residence. On February the 21st, 2022, Russia launched a full-scale invasion of the territory of Ukraine. During the Russia armed aggression against Ukraine, cases occurred in the territories of Kharkiv region, Kherson region, Donetsk and Luhansk regions, in particular in the city of Mariupol, when the occupation authorities deported several thousand local residents to the territory of the Russian Federation. These local residents, mostly women and children, hid from the bombers in bomb shelters, from where they were first taken to filtration camps in Donetsk, Novozovsk, where citizens are divided into benevolent and unbeneficent ones. Subsequently, some of the citizens are transported further to remote cities on the territory of Russia. In addition, passports are taken from our citizens, and in return, they issue a document that obliges a person to stay in a certain city, effectively depriving them of the right to leave that city for 2 years with the obligation to get a job at a certain place of work. Thus, people have no other choice but to leave for the territory of the aggressor's country. It's obvious that the first transfer of Ukrainian citizens outside the territory of Ukraine is an arbitrary act on the part of the occupiers which doesn't pursue legitimate cause. First of all, it's necessary to clarify the concept of place of residence. According to Part 5 of Article 3 of the Law of Ukraine on freedom of movement and free choice of residence in Ukraine, the place of residence is a dwelling with an address assigned in accordance with a procedure established by law in which a person lives, as well as institution for homeless people and other provider of social services with the residence, inpatient social and medical institution and other institutions of social support care in which a person receives social services. As already mentioned, the Constitution of Ukraine declares that everyone who's legally present in the territory of Ukraine is guaranteed freedom of movement, free choice of place of residence, the right to freely live in the territory of Ukraine with the exception of restrictions established by law. In addition, a citizen of Ukraine cannot be deprived of the right to return to Ukraine at any time. Equally important are the norms of international law, which guarantee the observance of human rights and their protection. However, Russia continues to defiantly ignore its international legal obligations under the Geneva Convention. For example, the specified illegal actions of Russia are a violation of Article 49 of the Geneva Convention on the treatment of civilian population of 1949 and Article 85 of the Additional Protocol 1 to the Convention of 1977, which prohibit, regardless of the motives, to carry out first individual or mass resettlement or deportation of protected persons from the occupied territory to the territory of the occupying state. Also, the forcible displacement of the population or deportation by the occupation authorities of the Russian Federation can be qualified as a crime against humanity or a war crime in accordance with the Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court. However, the term forcible, as used in the Rome Statute, is not limited to the use of force and may include the threat of force or coercion caused by, for example, fear of violence, brute force, detention, psychological pressure or abuse of power against such person or persons, or using a situation characterized by coercion. It should be noted that the illegal actions of our enemy constitute a violation in particular of Article 3 and Article 8 of the Convention on the Protection of Human Rights and Fundamental Freedoms, which guarantee the right not to be subjected to inhuman and degrading treatment and the right to respect private and family life, as well as Article 2 of Protocol number 4 to the Convention, which guarantees the right to move freely and freely choice of a place of residence on the territory of any state, the right to leave the country, and the prohibition of deportation from the territory of which a person is a citizen. So summing up all the above, we can come to the conclusion that the occupying power forcibly deports the local population to the territory of another state. Failure of the occupying power to comply with the norms of international law entails political, moral, and material sanctions for crimes that are particularly dangerous, including the criminal liability of special officials or ordinary citizens. Such responsibility may arise in case of violation by the occupying power or its representatives of the laws and customs of war, and for crimes against peace, humanity, human security, and international legal order. In our opinion, an available mechanism for influencing the process of protecting the human right to freely choice of a place of residence in the temporarily occupied territory is the exercise of constant political pressure on the aggressor. It's also necessary to form an international coalition to protect fundamental human rights and mediate between Ukraine and Russia in humanitarian issues. And first of all, I want to thank everyone for such a great discussion, because you keep our educational front despite war and alarm signals.
Thank you, Nastya. Thank you very much. And we would like to thank you as well. I just would like to mention that Nastya is not only a prominent student and the presenter today, but she's also one of the Dean's office assistants, and she's helping every day. She's helping us as teachers every day, yes, to do our job better. She's also supporting her student mates, and I believe, I see that she's now just at the university, yes, at our 5th building, so I can see the picture. Yeah.
Now I'm at our university, and I hope that our next meeting will be in at our university.
Yes, within the building, I believe so. Yes, I wish we can do it. We all miss the real life.
Yes. It's really so. It's really so.
Yes, I'm sure that everybody misses. Yes, we miss the real conversations. We miss the real presence of everybody. So thank you so much. Thank you, Nastya. So tell me,
well
please.
done.
Yes, well done. Do we have any questions? Anything? We are good. Okay, so let's move on. And our next presenter is Roman Lugash, and his topic is strategies of recovery and development of post-war Ukraine. So we also have his presentation. Just a second, we will adjust it. And Roman, meanwhile, you are welcome to test your microphone. Okay.
Thank you. So first of all, I want to thank all of you to this unique opportunity to present my report. Moreover, this is the first time for me, so I a little bit nervous, but anyway, and also I just want to thank for my supervisor, Valentina Mikhailivna Titova, for her valuable advice and cooperation. So the topic of my report is strategies of recovery and development of post-war Ukraine. As a part of our research, we analyzed the strategies of Ukraine's recovery in the post-war period. The means of assessing the country's recovery strategies have been studied, and the general characteristics of the post-war needs have been reviewed. The existing means of analysis are mostly based on analytical approaches. The methods of analysis make it possible to create more flexible means of assessing the specifics of the recovery of industries in Ukraine, as well as to identify their problems and place under the martial law. The methods used for the analysis of the research topic reflect the results in a qualitative form. So on the 24th of February 2022, Russia's unprovoked military aggression against Ukraine began. In the hostilities, Russia is using the full range of conventional weapons available to the parties, which leads to significant destruction of civilian infrastructure, including houses, administrative buildings, medical, transport, energy infrastructure, state-owned enterprises, and private businesses. To rebuild Ukraine properly, we need to take into account many components. So some of them are prioritization, security, financing, innovation, and energy of efficiency of buildings. However, we are not the first to go down this path. The world has been rebuilt after the Second World War and other wars. The reconstruction of Europe after Second World War began 3 years after the end of the war. Until that point, the viability of the post-war Western European economy had been supported by inputs from North America, loans and subsidies from the United States and Canada. To be sure, the Marshall Plan has become synonyms with the post-war reconstruction programs, so much so that the idea has already been discussed at the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank in early April 2022. In Ukraine, the issue of economic and infrastructure recovery was already discussed at the legislative level in April 2022. On the 21st of April, the President of Ukraine signed a decree establishing the National Council of the Restoration of Ukraine from the consequence of the war. The main task of this advisory body are to develop an action plan for the post-war recovery and development of Ukraine's infrastructure and economy, to prepare proposals for priority reforms needed during the war and post-war periods, and also to prepare strategic plans, draft regulations, the implementation of which will contribute to the recovery of Ukraine in the post-war period. On the 2nd of May 2022, this advisory body developed a plan for the post-war reconstruction of Ukraine, which include the following principles. Among them is full access to the European Union and G7 markets, obtaining candidate status and subsequent full membership in the European Union, building an economy based on the principles of deregulation and liberalization, establishing logistic roads to the West, shifting from exporting raw materials to processing in the industries that generate the largest export revenues, developing the domestic military industrial complex. Also, its energy self-sufficiency achieved by increasing domestic gas production and expanding nuclear power, and climate modernization. So the Europe is actively contribute to the accumulation of funds for Ukraine's reconstruction. To this end, the Energy Community for Ukraine has created the fund for the restoration of energy infrastructure destroyed by the Russian war, with donors mainly from the European Union. Ukraine primarily hopes to replenish these funds with the help of the partner countries and international institutions, including the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, the European Investment Bank, and the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development. A separate area is the support of large international companies and charitable foundations. Since the beginning of the Russian aggression, the European Union and its member states, as well as European financial institutions, have provided up to 50 billion euros in financial, humanitarian, emergency, budgetary, and military assistance. This includes an unprecedented financial support package up to 18 billion euros until the end of 2023. On the 26th of January 2023, an interagency donor coordination platform was launched to support the process of recovery, rehabilitation, and reconstruction in Ukraine. On the 20th of June 2022, the Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine adopted the anti-corruption strategy of Ukraine for 2021-2025. This strategy aims to strengthen the fight against corruption in Ukraine, which is critical for the country at the time of reconstruction. The main principles of this strategy are to optimization of state functions, digital transformation, creating new legal ways to meet the needs of individuals and legal entities, strengthening legal liability, ensure inventable legal liability for corruption, formation of public intolerance to corruption, and promote a culture of integrity to respect for the rule of law. The essential results that can be achieved by the Ukrainian government, provided it follows the optimal scenario and reduces security risk in the first half of 2023, stopping the decline in the production of goods and services, creating new innovation companies, restoring broken supply chains, expanding logistics possibilities, controlling the inflammatory process, reconstruction and modernization of fully or partly destroyed production infrastructure facilities, preservation of jobs, employment growth, and legalization of labor relations through the development of digital control over the labor market. Also, its transparency and openness of the procurement process for donor funds for reconstruction projects and fulfillment of all economic conditions for the opening of the 4 freedoms for Ukraine regarding the 3 movement of goods, service, capital, and labor, and sinking of the European Union Ukraine accession agreement. Thus, with proper planning, Ukraine can change its focus and turn its disadvantages into opportunities. Ukraine policymakers should emphasize productivity growth and use the aftermath of the war as an opportunity to modernize the economy and the state apparatus, including the introduction of low carbon production, increasing the energy intensity of the economy, and using information technology to improve public services. Thus, the cooperation is developing the best strategy and tactics from the post-war economic recovery remains a priority of the Ukrainian government and business. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, one more action plan we can see here. Yes, everything structured. Yes, and thank you so much. Well, do we have any questions to our Roma?
Yes, I have. Please tell us what do you think about your strategies, and tell us the main of your strategies, the more important strategies from your point of view.
Okay, first of all, I thank you for your question, and I just want to say what mostly important strategies of me, it's creating a new legal ways to meet the needs of individuals and legal entities, which will be brought closer to legislation of European Union, which is one of the tasks of the Ukraine to the way the European Union membership. Also, I just want to say that formation of public intolerance to corruption, because we know nowadays this problem still exists, and maybe promote a culture of honesty to respect of the rule of law, because we all know there are many people who ignore this matter. So I think it's for me, it's the important strategies of recovery and development in Ukraine for the next future. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for this informative, full of details and figures report. It was really, really very interesting. Yes. Okay.
And can I just make one point, Olena? Look, it's very interesting. Vladimir always wants to know, what's your proposition? What is your opinion? Yeah. What is your view? We might not agree with it, but that last points that you made, Roman, that was the most powerful, it seemed to me, in your presentation. You gave your opinion. And if all of you can learn from Vladimir's questions, when we hear you speak, we want to hear facts, as you all are very good at, but our opinion. Step one, step two, give your opinion, please. That was fantastic what you did, and a great question, Vladimir. Thank you.
Thank you, Niall, as well. Thank you. Yes, yes. This is a great responsibility. Well, yes, you know, to do all this like mix and match. But well, it's always great to hear from you, our young generation. Thank you so much. Yes, your ideas, your bright views. So thank you so much. Yeah, once again. Let's move on then. Yes, well, we have our 14th speaker, and this is Sofia Boyka with her presentation. You are welcome. The topic of the presentation is standardization and harmonization of Ukrainian legislation within process of joining the European Union. Disadvantages and advantages. Yes, we are doing on a positive. Yes, on a positive. Okay, you're welcome.
Greetings to all of you. I hope you are doing well. And as it was mentioned previously, my theme. So let's move on to the topic. And Ukraine has been on the path of European integration for decades. Painstaking work in improving the economic and social order by gradual but confident steps directs our country to fruitful cooperation and further accession to the European Union. The process of standardization and harmonization of Ukrainian legislation to European standards are extremely necessary for the process of legal integration and the formation of pan-European approaches to legal understanding, standards and principles of law, and the entry of other states into the European Union. First of all, is defined in the Copenhagen and Madrid criteria for EU membership, the approximation of national legislation to the requirements of the European ones creates a certain Rubicon, which can go into violation of its own principles of development and the constitutional order, which should not be allowed. One of the disadvantages and in fact obstacles that stand in the way of harmonization and standardization of legislation is a lack of clear understanding of the need for this transformation in society. Unfortunately, even despite the historical aspects of the development of a progressive and responsible society, the presence of a share of people who are prone to legal nihilism negates all previous achievements, as well as the uncertainty of small and even large enterprises in their own competitiveness in the European markets, which is due to the lack of awareness of the mechanism of work of harmonized laws in practice, and if it were not said, a complex on inferiority, and so for several centuries with the influence of territorial fragmentation. Also, in my opinion, it's necessary to improve the dissemination of information with analytic data that will reflect the needs, benefits, and impact of the procedure itself on legislation, and thereby on certain areas of life. What's new, improved, changed, and how the mechanism will work. The more questions and the lack of information, so we provoke stagnation. I hope that it's due to the explanation in an accessible language for all that it will be an impetus to re-evaluate the previous standards of thinking and lead to attempts to standard that the rule of law and the development of Ukraine begins with ourselves, as well as its further participation in international organizations. The next thing I would like to draw attention to is the importance and effectiveness of these actions. First of all, what has already been done in 2022 and 2023. Reform of the Constitutional Court, which provides in particular for the involvement in the selection procedure of candidates for the post of judge in the Constitutional Court of Ukraine of a new special body. The advisory group of experts, which is formed to assess the bodies appointing judges of the Constitutional Court in assessing the moral qualities and the level of competence in the field of law of candidates for the post of judge of the Constitutional Court. Currently, work is ongoing on proposal to amend the legislation, taking into account additional recommendations of the Venice Commission. Also, the fight against corruption continues. And in addition to the election of the new head of NABU, the law of Ukraine on the principle of the state anti-corruption policy for 2021-2025 came into force. On the March 2023, the government approved the state anti-corruption program for 2023-2025. It's worth noting the introduction of anti-oligarchic legislation and amendments to it. In particular, this new law of Ukraine, based on the recommendations of the Venice Commission. A number of bills have been developed to minimize potential oligarchic influence on political parties, improving state financing of parties, improving the procedure for bringing to justice for administrative offenses related to corruption, ensuring security of electricity and natural gas supply. Also, changes were made in the field of media, which found their legislative consolidation, taking into account the proposal of the public and European experts in the law of Ukraine on media, which entered into force on March 2023. This law guarantees the independence of the media regulator, introduces additional mechanisms for protecting the national information space, improve the application of sanctions, define the principles of the functioning of online media, and also introduces at the legislative level definition of the concept of media literacy. The law enforcement system has also undergone changes. At January 2023, at the IWG meeting chaired by Prosecutor General, the draft of the comprehensive strategic plan for reforming law enforcement agencies was approved and submitted to the President's office for approval. So, a lot of positive changes occurred due to harmonization and standardization of Ukrainian legislation to the European one. The main task is the full awareness of the expediency of the procedure by society, which in the complex will give impetus not only to the development of legislation, but also to rational thinking about changes. It's essential to consciously approach the changes taking place in Ukraine in order to build a true democratic and legal state, because any harmonization in legislation should be carried out in such a way that the new legislation was not only adopted, but also acted in practice. Thank you for your attention.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you for your positive.
Thank you.
Yes.
Very nice presentation. Well done, Sophia. Well done.
Thanks a bunch. Thanks a bunch.
Yes, you sound like a real lecturer, not a student.
It means a lot.
Many thanks.
Thanks for your words.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's happy to see you all here, in this mood and presenting your presentation, with this approach. So as Sophia is our, final presenter, I think that it's time to, once again, thank all of the presenters, all of our students who were here. Yes, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. First of all, because once again, I would like to mention and state that they not all are like students of the third or fourth year, but some of them were students of the first and second year. And this is important that they were really brave enough, you know, to be here. Well, of course, with the help of their supervisors and well, next word, I would like to thank our supervisors. Thank you so much for supporting them, for giving them inspiration. I believe that it's a mutual work. They inspire us and we inspire them for sure. Yes, well, and of course, once again, thank you, Niall, for being here, and thanks to our guests. Well, just one of our colleagues from Pearson wrote to me that she was here as well just for a couple of minutes in between her other meetings, and she is impressed immensely with the level of these presentations that she saw and the level of English, because first of all, we have to remember that our main aim here is to teach foreign languages, is to teach English to our students. But at the same time, you see that we are coping, I believe. Yes, we are doing that not bad. We are also teaching them law in English, yes, and economics, yes, and all the topics and management and everything in English as well. And I believe, well, that this is a big, let's say, it makes a big influence. Yes, it makes a big impact. So thank you, thank you. It's a huge collaboration, cooperation. And well, once again, Niall, great thanks to you. We would like to maybe hear a couple of words from you. Yes.
No, it's been an honor, a pleasure. And, you know, I have some nice connections in the legal world. I know the vice chair of Denton's, one of the largest legal firms in the world. If ever you would like to have a conversation with these people, half an hour, where you ask them questions in English, and they'll give you from a legal perspective, they'll give you their point of view. All you have to do is ask.
Thank you, we will.
If I can help, I'll help.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Niall.
Appreciate.
We
Yes,
appreciate
really.
it. So, as I said
Deeply appreciated. Deeply appreciated.
we will definitely include this into our lessons, because this is what we really need. We need more live conversations. We need more real, true English conversations, you know, and of course, if they are not only English, but also, you know, the professional topics, I'm sure that students will be absolutely happy. So dear students, do we support this idea? Well, I believe so. Yes, I believe. Yes. Thumbs up. Yes.
No doubt, of course.
No doubt. Okay, so once again, thanks to all the participants, to all our dearest guests. Vladimir Vladimirovich, is there anything we can add or say about? Yes, thank you so much for organizing all this. Yes, for being our supervisor of the supervisors. Yes, and helping. Absolutely, this is
Yes.
We wouldn't definitely arrange all this without your support, yes, without your knowledge. Yes.
Thank you for all you and my colleagues, our dear Niall and Michael. Thank you, the students. It was very interesting for me to hear these prominent students. I think I will make some materials in the page documentary form. Also, students, you can wait from me some books. You can wait from me some certificates and so on. So thank you. And thank you, Alena Sergeyevna, for your brilliant, prominent conference. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure, and I'm very proud, and I'm happy to be here. Yes, and yes, I'm happy to see you. Well, your faces, yes, here in this conference, and I see, yes, Svetlana Borisovna has switched on the camera. Well, also we are happy to see you.
Короче,
Мгм.
да, п'ємо шампанське, випиваємо подумки, я зрозумів.
Yes,
Хорошо.
so Vladimir said we are drinking champagne, yes, already all together. Well, to our dear students who is still here, as Vladimir Vladimirovich just mentioned, we will contact you and we will award you with the certificates of the participation. We will award you with the prizes, yes, that I have mentioned before. It will be books and it will be codes to Pearson online libraries where you can read and fulfill exercises. Probably you can share that also within your group during your lessons, or just have something you know, interesting to do during your vacation, just to distract a little bit from your studies, yes, and just read for pleasure, as we say. So, my dear, thank you so much. Thank you for participating. And well, I wish you all good luck and be safe, stay safe, and see you next time.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you to
everyone.
everybody. Thank you.
Goodbye.
Good luck. Goodbye, Niall.
Goodbye.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Niall. Goodbye.
Have a nice day.
Yeah.
Have a nice
Bye.
day.
Bye.
Have a nice evening. And
Thank you.
peaceful, a quiet night. Peaceful
Yes.
and quiet night.
So we have
It's very
only
important.
one student remaining here in our conference. Yes. Okay. 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 So thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye.